Hi guys. Well, it might look a little bit familiar if you've watched any of Civvy on her drives home. Uh, she got to work this morning, and oh, how exciting! We have people out of their vehicles over there on the left turn lane coming this way. Um, when she got to work this morning, the battery in her key fob died. Uh, so I had to come to the rescue and come up to the jail. So I came up to the jail, picked her key fob. Hey, Bird, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's actually evening for you, buddy. Hey, Des. Yeah, so Stevie's key fob died this morning. So I had to come up to the jail and get her key fob and go back down to the Toyota dealership and get a new battery put in it. And then we had a frustrating few moments. She had to reprogram it to the car. Luckily, we found information on how to do that. And she's back up and working, and I get to drive home on her normal route. So we'll see if my phone goes to hell at the airport too. See if I start to lose signal in the same place that she does, or if it's the phone setting her phone. So this could be an interesting trip. It is Friday. Des goes live tonight. That's always fun. God, this new gal that Sibby's working with is a piece of work. Does yours not have a keyhole on the driver's door? On the Kia, the Kia has a keyhole on the driver's door. Not that it's running right now, but the Kia has a key on the driver's door. When we bought it, they had lost the key fob, and they had a locksmith come out and make a new key for it, which fit the door, but without the fob, it wouldn't run the car. So we came up like 4 times to pick up the car. Um, as a matter of fact, that car lot is coming up here, right here on the left. So you can see how far we had to come to get the car. But and it was actually a friend of a friend who owned the car lot. And it turns out I got completely screwed on the car deal once I looked up all the numbers. But that's the car she wanted, so that's the car she got. Hey, Lee. Howdy, buddy. Thanks for stopping in. It's just a bizarre pop up because I'm out on Friday. Um, anyway, uh, yeah, they kept getting the locksmith to come out and make new keys for it, figuring it was a key problem, and it was actually the computer chip in the key fob didn't communicate with the onboard computer on the Kia car, and so it wouldn't let the car start. So they ended up they paid 3 different times for a locksmith to come out and make a new key for it, um, and it ended up costing them about 4 times what it would have cost them if they'd just gone to the dealership and gotten a new programmed key fob. Anyway, right there on the left where it says Verdant, that's that's where the car dealership was. And it really doesn't look like I have lost any signal. I should have turned left right there. That would have saved us a bunch of stoplights. But that's the way City goes. Um, yes, please hit that like button. Thank you. Hey, Darren, thanks for dropping by, buddy. Anyway, so she's back up and running now. It took us a little dinking around, but her car is back up and going, and so I'm going home now, and I'm going to take basically the same trip she does. No, Stevie's key fob battery died when she got to work this morning, so I had to come up and grab her key fob and run down to the Toyota dealership and get a new battery put in. And of course, the parts guy didn't bother to tell us we had to reprogram it when we got it back in the car. So I had to look that up on the internet and see how to do that. And of course, Chivy is grousing because she needs to go back into work, and it's in a locked, secure area, so I can't even go in and do it for her because I don't have security clearance. And all the time she's dinking around with it while I'm giving her instruction, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, if I got to call AAA, how the hell are they going to get in and get that car? But we ended up getting it to work, and she's all good now, so I'm going back home. So we're basically taking the same route that Sibby takes on her afternoon drives. And we actually made it by the airport without any interference whatsoever. So this has to be a setting on her phone. Hi, Specs. How are you, honey? Thanks for stopping in. Speck Appeal. She's so adorable. You guys really need to check her out. Go get with that. Well, thank you. I feel the same way when I see your lives pop up. And what's with YouTube? Jesus, they're just getting worse and worse on notifications. I'm actually having to set reminders on my phone, actual reminders on my phone, just to catch people's lives that I usually watch because I'm just not getting them from YouTube. You're riding along, cool. Well, I'll take you for a trip. It's not really beautiful today. That we got some good cloud cover, so we're not going to get some good views of the mountain, but it's still a pretty drive once we get out of town. I wish we could go the back way, but the bridge is still closed from where the vacuum truck hit it. They're now talking about putting 5 new beams on the bridge to handle the load, and then they're going to open it for alternating traffic uh, by the end of September, um, which will help for the most part. But that bridge, during normal rush hour from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 6, that's stop and go traffic with 3 mile backups just across the bridge normally. So I can't imagine how well that's going to go over. That'll be fun going camping. I haven't done that in years, but I grew up camping every summer. My dad worked for Boeing and had like 8 weeks of vacation every year. And so as soon as school got out, we'd load up the cars and we'd go up to Mount Rainier and stop at Cougar Rock Campground and set up camp, and we would stay there for 8 straight weeks. And my mom would go back and forth during the week for work and come up on the weekend. It's going to be a long wait. That's okay. If you got phone signal, you'll have some great videos. Great. Oh, this is good. Crosswalks down there about 50 more feet, dude. A few loose nuts up here in Auburn. Hey, K and G, how are you, buddy? Yeah, so we'd spend the entire summer up at Mount Rainier just fiddling around, doing trail walks and stuff. It was great fun when I was a kid. Then when I got older, we would we'd go up with 3 or 4 guys, 4 or 5 cases of beer, and a couple of fishing rods. If we caught stuff, we ate. If we didn't catch stuff, we drank. Back in the day, they allowed fishing inside the park, and there were a couple of really great fishing spots. Rainbow trout were all over the place up there. All right, I got to bump over a lane. Yeah, I'd rather go out through Enumclaw, but with that bridge closed, I can't get back. So it's going to be a while before we can do that drive again. But in just a few minutes here, we'll be out of the city and off into the rural areas, and uh, and then the view will get better. And there are I've got video of it. I think I mentioned it somewhere. Oh, never mind. That was on a Zoom meeting. We had a for those of you that don't know what this is, I'll explain it in a minute. But for those that do know, it's called a straight 80, and it's a 80-foot tall man lift that came down the road and around our corner right in front of the house yesterday. And I videotaped that, which was that was an effort to see that happen. And they're down the street taking down 3 trees, maybe 4. Uh, but I got some footage of them starting it this morning. I'm hoping to get back before they actually start taking the trunks down, so I can get some footage of that, and then I'll post that up as a video either later today or tomorrow. Um, but basically, these guys are straight up in the air about 85 feet on these huge fir trees, and as they go up, they cut the limbs off, and then when they get to the highest point they need to get to, then they start cutting the trunk of the tree coming down, and they usually drop it off in 10 to 15-foot sections. Years ago, this was probably probably back in the early 90s. Uh, One of the major manufacturers for man lifts is called Genie Industries. Um, Running joke on the flying carpets, that kind of a thing. Anyway, I used to work on their building, working on their air conditioning and some of their equipment coolers and that kind of thing. And so I got pretty friendly with a lot of the guys on the assembly lines. And frequently I got to go out and ride up with them on their test runs on their big wheel lifts. And the highest one I was up on was a 280 straight 280 is what it was called. And we were up 280 feet in the air. That was pretty cool. I didn't go up on the first run, but about the 5th run, once they were satisfied that it was all put together right and it was working properly, then they offered me a ride. By all means, I took it. Being 280 feet in the air is wild. In a basket that's 6 foot by 8 foot. But all through my career, I've worked on various man lifts. Back in the day before you had to be certified, I've got 4 of my guys going in to get certified tomorrow for lifts. Well, 2 to get certified and 2 to get recertified. But you'll get to see that straight 80 in the video that I put out, and it's actually the stick that when it's all the way down, the stick is about 30 feet long, 35 feet long. And then it extends out like a crane does. If any of you remember back in the day when they imploded the Kingdome here in Seattle, before they did that, they resurfaced the inside of it. Sadly, there was a screw up, and a couple of guys were killed during that process. Uh, and they had them up on a 330-foot crane, and they put a basket on the tip of that crane, and took it all the way to the top of the Kingdome inside, and they were resurfacing the inside of the dome. And one of the crane operators messed up somehow and hit the building hard enough to knock that basket loose. And when you're on a man lift, you've got a harness on with a 10-foot lanyard, but that lanyard is attached to the basket. So if the basket comes off, you're done. But otherwise, if you fall out of the basket, you fall 10 feet, and then it's called a fall arrest. And you just come to a sudden stop. Uh, and that 10-foot lanyard has a shock absorber system on it, so it's not just doinking you're done. It actually has some bounce to it, so you don't actually get yanked that hard. I've got a neighbor down the street also. Matter of fact, the neighbor I'm about to tell the story about, his next door neighbor is his dad, and that's the guy that's having the trees taken down. But the other guy, his son, works for a big construction company downtown, and he brings in a 60-footer to paint his house every couple of years to do the trim on his house, just because he can. And in a weekend, he can paint all the trim on his house with that lift, rather than moving a ladder from point to point to point, which would take a painting crew a day and a half or 2 days, but one homeowner, it would take a week to do. I really don't appear to have lost signal anywhere. Am I still here? Looks like I am, but anyway, yeah, okay, thanks, Des. Anyway, that's that's a Daryl is his name, and so if he bring when he has that lift in the town, uh, a couple of years back, I needed to put a Wi-Fi signal or cellular signal booster up on the top of my house. So I walked down and said, "Hey, if I give you $50, can I use the lift for a few minutes to put this cell booster up on my I've got an old TV antenna way up at the top, which isn't of use anymore, but the pole is still up there." And he goes, "Tell you what," he already knows I know how to run them. He says, "If you want to take it back from my house and park it back up at the fire station, which is where it was going to be picked up from," he said, "yeah, just stop and use it on the way." So I did. Unfortunately, there was no thought of YouTube or doing that kind of a thing back then, and so we didn't bother filming any of it. Yeah, exactly. If you got something really tall, and they make off-road ones with big meaty tires that put monster trucks to shame. Uh, and if you've got moderately safe ground around the building you're working on, or within 30 feet of the building you're working on, yeah, it's much safer to do it off of man lifts and off of a ladder. Jesus. Well, you know, anything is possible. Um, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that I haven't seen any pixelated footage yet on this live. Yeah, yes, I know. Frequently, we've got 30-foot ladders up doing things for what I do. Um, 2013, we put up a 45-foot ladder, and then because the boss was so cheap, five of us took a mini split outdoor unit up that ladder onto a 4-story commercial building. It was insane. One guy, there were three guys up on top with a rope pulling, and one guy underneath it climbing the ladder with it above him, and he was keeping it stabilized. And we took it up 4 stories because the boss was too cheap to rent a crane to do it. On a shorter roof, that's pretty common practice, but that one was ridiculous. Luckily, nobody got taken out, but it was definitely hazardous. One of the goofy things you do. And luckily now, Tom and I run the company, and if we get into a situation like that, it's like, no, if they want it done, they're going to pay for a crane to be here to do it. We're not doing that kind of crap. None of our guys are, one of our guys' lives or being injured isn't worth that. All right, KNG, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Appreciate you, I really do. Yeah, I'm really surprised. It's got to be the settings on Sydney's phone. I mean, we've gone through and matched them, and she's got a couple of things in her settings I don't have, and I've got a couple of things in my settings that she doesn't have. So I'm thinking she's not current on her updates. Because that little area where we dip below the level of the lake back there, she loses signal every single time. And in a minute here, we're going to take the mare's cutoff, and usually when she drops down into that area, she loses signal too. So we'll see what happens there. This should be the Lake Taps is on our right. I think we've all mentioned that. I don't know if you could just see it there for a second, but Labor Day is when they usually start draining it, and they'll drain it down. They've gone really low. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they went really low. Um, but I'll have to come up here when it's when it's low and show you guys how ridiculously low they take it. Lake Capps is a man-made lake. It's the reservoir for the city of Tacoma. Uh, and so a little bit before Memorial Day, they raised the dams at the west end and start filling it up. And they bring it up and let people play in it all summer long and run their boats in it and stuff. And then beginning of winter, they or coming into winter, about Labor Day, they lower the dam walls and start lowering the lake level. Um, and there are advantages and disadvantages to that. Biggest disadvantage is that you've got people with geothermal heating systems with grids that are out in the lake that are supposed to be underwater for their heating and cooling systems to work properly. And without that, they don't work. Uh, and anytime they take the lake very low, there's a dozen homes out here that lose their heating and cooling. The advantage to it is nobody has to. It's not a big deal for anybody to work on their dock because the docks are all exposed when the lake level goes down. Hey, Starenash. Yeah, it was supposed to go in last Wednesday, day before yesterday, but um, the auto shop in town had overbooked. So it's going in next Wednesday, and I'm the first one on the list. So then we'll get rid of the tick, 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 and take care of the other couple of minor problems that I've got. It'll be a whole new experience for me because it's been running like this for so long. I mean, it runs fine. It just makes this noise. There's the Wagyu beef farm. Um, I was up where Sibby works. When she got to work this morning, her key fob battery had died, so she couldn't do anything with her car. So I had to go up and get her key fob and run it down to the Toyota dealership and get a new battery put in, and then we had to figure out how to resync it to the car, and eventually got that taken care of, and now I'm going back home. So basically, I'm taking the same drive that Sibby takes when she does her afternoon drives with you guys. Unfortunately, it's a cloudy, overcast day, so we can't see the mountain. Still very, very muggy, though. Yesterday, we hit mid-90s, and it was miserable, to be quite frank. Um, um, 2012, we had a tornado come through this area and took down a barn. You can see this gray roof to the left. That's a fairly new building. That was a barn, and it was taken out by the tornado that came through. We don't get tornadoes very often. When we like every 3 to 5 years, maybe we'll get a small one. Um, when we do, they're few and far between. But this one actually did some damage. In reality, it was an old beat-up barn that was falling down anyway. But and all these houses on the right didn't exist at that point. The guy with the barn owned all of this land for his cattle. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it if it made decent engine noise, but this is an exhaust leak. Um, the race car makes good car noise. There's video of that on my page too. Sad part is between my foot being messed up and as busy as everybody is, we haven't even been out to the track in about 4 years. Poor little Maverick just sits in the garage collecting dust at the moment. Yes, I am south of Seattle by about an hour, hour and a half, in Washington State. And there's the corn, all high enough for a corn maze. That's the infamous Maris Farms, getting ready for their September festival and then their Halloween extravaganza. This one's kind of cool because they do a haunted hayride zombie hunt. Everybody on the hayride gets a paintball gun, and as you're riding through the woods getting scared, there are also zombies that come out of the woods and attack the hayride, and you get to shoot them down with your paintball gun. And it doesn't pay crap, but they have tons of people volunteering just because it's fun to get zombies get shot at, I guess. But they're getting ready for their sunflower festival. Yeah, technically we're in Buckley, Washington right now, kind of out of the Buckley city limits, but technically it's all part of Buckley. And normally we would have a really good view of the mountain right here, just out to the right, but it's cloud cover's got us. Um, I wonder. We're gonna rather than just going straight down past the pot shop, we're gonna take a little detour and come around through the backside of Buckley. Frequently, there's people down here that stack up hay bales and do silly things with them. I've seen them done up as minions and other things, but We'll go see if they've got something funny done up. Little detour, but it could be fun. And Cindy will just be a little bit more mad at me because I was gone up 5 minutes longer. If I'm gone a long time, if we're gone from the house a long time, Cindy's still young enough that she has to be in her crate, which she really doesn't mind. Um, she knows when her collar comes off, she has to go in the crate, and she'll just follow you to the crate and walk in. She's got a bed and her blanket and a couple of her stuffies in there. And she just goes in and goes to sleep until I get back. All right, we're going to take a left here rather than going straight down to the pot shop. Uh-oh. Nope, we're not. Road's closed. Oh well. Sorry, guys. I don't know why that would be closed. Well, that's kind of a bummer. Yeah, I've seen they use the big round hay bales, the ones I call adult marshmallows, um, and they stack them up in funny configurations and then paint them to look like things. A couple of years ago, they had a big family of cows standing out there, um, and it's really cute. But yeah, maybe next time. I didn't expect the road to be closed. I don't know why it would be. It's just another road like this one. All right, on the left is the green door, um, and that building was built from pot money. That was an abandoned gas station for years and years and years. And these guys were in a warehouse building down the road a little bit from the time they legalized recreational pot and pot stores until 2 years ago, and then they built that. All right, Lee, thanks for being here, buddy. Good luck with the railroad. Okay, we'll get through this stoplight and then we're done with stoplights. We got a few more stop signs to deal with. Well, one more stop sign to deal with. I guess there's one more stoplight too. I lied. I'm an effing liar. I forgot about the one at the high school. And the stop sign at 112. Everybody with their size on the corner. Wow, nice PTO coming. Look at that. Tail light 66 PTO. Very nice. Is it buffering? I'm sorry, it shouldn't. I'm not seeing any weirdness on my side. Hopefully it'll get better here in a second. White River High School is just down that road to the right. All right, that was the last stoplight. Okay, and now I got a bicyclist in the road. I got to get around. Usually, if it's on my hey, Jamoose. Usually, if the buffering is coming on my end, it looks pixelated to me. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen, and I don't know about it. But all right, here's the last stop sign. Here's the last bridge that fell down. This is a temporary bridge, which has become a permanent bridge. It was supposed to be replaced in 2024. That was an erector set bridge, supposed to be just used for emergencies and kept in a warehouse down in Olympia, state capital. And when the bridge fell apart, they said, "Don't worry about it. We're going to replace it at the end of 2023 and 2024." And everybody said, "We can't survive like that. You know, it's a 10-minute detour to go around it." So they said, "Okay, we'll put up this temporary bridge and then we take it down when we replace it." And apparently that was the end of the story, and that's our new permanent bridge. And they have to come out and tighten the bolts on it every couple of months. Now, this is the area I expect you to get into trouble with buffering. Um, for the longest time, we'd lose signal on phone calls coming through here. More so on her car than on mine, but because mine's a little taller. And I know that we have had trouble the last couple of times I've come into Wilkinson. So we'll see what happens today. It's possible it'll be better because of the cloud cover, but we'll see. Come around the corner past the old brothel, which ain't brothling much anymore. Now it's a bunch of apartments and State Farm office. All right, let's see. If we lose you, we lose. We don't. I'll turn it off as we turn down our road. So thanks for being here. It's been fun and exciting. Um, Des goes live tonight at 4:45 Pacific time. That's always fun. There's one of our cemeteries on the left. We'll see how it goes. Our little radar sign that tells you to slow down to 25. There's the sign telling you the Fairfax Bridge is closed. Stop right there. conveniently located close to home. I can actually bring my truck down here and he'll give me a ride back home. I don't know why though. And there's our welcome to Wilson sign back. All right, guys, as we come around the corner to the fire station,